against all the evil that hell can conjure, all the wickedness that mankind can produce, we will send unto them only you. Rip and tear until it is done.
Welcome back, viewer, to Iron's Colossus Crash Course. In this episode, we will discuss the basics of playing as an engineer in armored combat in general to establish important info that will be used almost constantly throughout your tanking career, or even when playing infantry against vehicles. Before you acquire your Colossus, you must gain the basic knowledge of how armored combat works in plant side. To begin, if you want to contribute to the vehicular component of a battle, then you will need to be an engineer. Before investing into anything else, it's absolutely critical that you put certs into your repair tool. It will be expensive, but this little tool will be the lifeblood of your career as a tanker. If it is not upgraded, it will heal your vehicle slowly and overheat quickly. But if upgraded fully, then you will have much better chances of saving your vehicle when things get rough. Knowing how to safely repair vehicles, especially when under fire, is without doubt the single most important knowledge you will need to know. Fortunately, it's also one of the simplest to learn and will become second nature very quickly. First off, do not stand in front of or behind the vehicle you're repairing or any other vehicles around you. If they have to reverse or move forward for various reasons, you will be crushed instantly. It's always best to be by the side of the vehicle, moving in circles and crouching repeatedly to prevent snipers from picking you off while you're vulnerable. Another good asset is the Spitfire auto turret to replace your manual turret. Also known as Spitties, this little guy will be your number one buddy to count on. The Spitfire will constantly search for any visible hostile infantry, and once it finds one, it will make an audible beep and start firing. The sounds of the Spitfire turret are very clear to hear and provide an important signal of approaching enemies, so keep an ear out for their telltale sounds. Once you own the Spitfire, it's completely free to spawn, so whenever you settle into position, it's a great idea to place a Spitty near your vehicle to watch out for incoming infantry. As insignificant as they may seem from the eyes of a vehicle, infantry that know what they're doing are a very serious threat. Lastly, for your personal equipment, the Nano repair grenade is a specialized grenade that sticks to vehicles and will emit a repairing field of nanites around it. Personally, I only recommend carrying this if you are a dedicated gunner and not the person actually spawning the vehicle. This is because when you use a grenade, on your next spawn each grenade you use will cost you 75 nanites. This number adds up quickly as you use them, and since nanites are also the currency used to spawn vehicles, it's better to try to save your nanites and stick to your repair tool as the owner of the vehicle. If anything, they are best for emergencies or situations when you're under fire and need to jump back in the vehicle, but also still urgently need to repair. And with that, you should have the basic equipment for vehicular gameplay. Now is when it's a good idea to actually get into a vehicle. If you're on console, I recommend setting your ground control vehicle scheme into racetrack for the best experience. Make sure to give the control layout a look before you get moving so you know your controls. For your first vehicle to put time into, I would recommend the Lightning. It's decently affordable in nanites and can do a good job teaching you about how to fight in armored combat. When it comes to engaging enemy vehicles, PlantSide is a very simple damage system compared to other games. Very few weapons with armor damaging capability have any fall off, meaning that almost all weapons will put out consistent damage against armored targets. For tracked vehicles, however, they have a special system in place in which you will deal bonus damage when hitting its sides, or even more when hitting it in the rear. The angle at which you hit does not matter, only that you hit either the front, side, or rear faces. Most of the time, unless you're against an experienced and careful tanker, you'll almost always have a small amount of area of side armor that you can hit, and it's a good idea to try to take a shot for it whenever you can. In close quarters combat, try to push into the enemy tank and get at its rear armor to maximize your damage, but keep in mind that you should prevent this on your own vulnerable areas as well. It's best to hit the tank wherever you can, whenever you can, rather than waiting to shoot at its weak spots. With this in mind, it's also good to know the abilities and weapons of each faction's MBT. Universally, there are 3 main guns for each MBT as well as versions for the Lightning. These are Heat, the default cannon, AP, the anti-vehicle cannon, and Hesh, the anti-infantry cannon. Heat cannons typically have simple, round barrel ends. They have the fastest reload speed of the three guns and are good all-rounders between dealing with vehicles as well as infantry. These guns are the best for spamming and are great at laying down suppressive fire. Next up is AP, known for its pointy or spiky barrel ends. These cannons are what you'll want to look out for the most as a tanker. They have next to no splash damage, but have the highest velocity of the three guns and hit harder than their counterparts. They're slightly less capable of spam fire than Heat, and need careful aim to hit your weak points. Get to know what these cannons look like quickly, as it can be an important factor in fighting against other tanks and know their damage type to decide how you're going to address them. Lastly, Hesh, which are usually known for having wider barrel tips. These guns are built for having as much blast radius as possible for killing infantry in bulk, and have the most damage per hit between the three. However, their actual damage output is severely limited against vehicles due to their extremely long reload times, and their slow-moving shells mean that it's very difficult for them to precisely lay down their damage over distances. Be aware of these guns regardless, as a smart tanker seen bringing Hesh to a vehicle fight is likely not there to directly kill your tank, but rather aiming at the ground around your flanks to try and kill your support. The heavy blasts of Hesh cannons make mincemeat out of friendly engineers, and once they're dead there will be nothing to save you from the other weapons pointed at you. Simply put, Hesh tanks are typically easy kills in one-on-one tank fights or small skirmishes, but an important target in larger battles involving many vehicles that will be targeting your healers. For those looking to put down a tank that's locked down in a spot in an open battle, bringing high explosive weaponry to kill its engineers is usually the best way to weaken it. Let's move on to vehicle abilities. The best ones to know are Fire Suppression and GSD. Fire Suppression is available to all vehicles and will provide an emergency burst of repair as well as extinguishing fires when at critical health levels. This ability is a great saving throw when at the verge of death and is a great idea for the Lightning in particular. Fire Suppression is very effective in close combat, since it can be often the last second save to turn the fight in your favor and buy some more health. Be wary of this on the other end just as much, as when you almost have an enemy vehicle killed and it hits the Fire Suppression, it might be just what it needs to finish you off. Next up is the Gate Shield Diffuser. This ability is only able to be equipped by certain vehicles, namely transports like Sunderers, Harassers, and Flashes, and allows them to drive right through enemy gate shields. These can be used to rush into bases through shields, namely amp stations and tech plants, or to flank enemies that are using one as cover and hit them from behind. They also have the ability to completely negate any damage received from collisions such as fall damage or ramming. Seen here is a clever example of this ability being used that ended a Colossus run. This gate shield was being used as cover to repair in between firing, but an enemy Sunderer used its GSD to block my reverse as I was pulling out, and as a result I was not able to escape. Feel free to re-watch this short clip and note all the small details to identify several other threats that are all trademark signs of bad news for tankers. If you have a good eye, you'll likely notice them very quickly and be able to see mistakes on me and my crew's end that led to our death here. Lastly on the topic of tanks, faction-specific MBT abilities. First off, the Prowler's Barrage. This ability enables the Prowler to reload much faster for a short time and allows it to pump out damage more quickly. Second, the Vanguard's Forward Shield. This ability reduces incoming damage and allows the Vanguard to soak up much more fire than other tanks for a short period. Lastly, the Mag Rider's Mag Burner. With this ability, the Mag Rider can jet into or out of combat extremely quickly, as well as moving between cover or avoiding imminent threats. Be aware of Mag Riders using these, as they can gain the upper hand very quickly with this ability. These vehicles all also have special secondary abilities. The Prowler is able to deploy when stationary, which increases its rate of fire and enables better long-range damage. It also has an optional secondary ability when it is deployed, the Rampart Projector. This energy shield is built to protect friendly infantry around the Prowler, but it's a double-edged sword. While friendly infantry can fire out of the shield and have better safety to repair the Prowler while it is deployed, the shield is also a huge, very visible target that is linked to the Prowler's own health pool, meaning that when the shield is fired out, the Prowler itself loses health. Given this, it's a good idea in large fights, similar to the situation with Hesh tanks, but if the Prowler doesn't have support to back it up, then the shield simply makes it easier to hit. As for the Lightning, it has more health than the ER tanks at 6,000 instead of 5,000, or for the Lightning 4,000. This enables it to take more damage than its rivals, and it can afford to be more aggressive given such. The Vanguard also has access to the Nimitz Reactor, which exchanges its bonus 1000 health for a regenerating passive shield. This shield is similar to that of infantry, and even takes damage from small arms in my experience. As such, it's a good idea to shoot a Vanguard running a Nimitz Reactor with any weapon you have and any chance to get to force it back into cover, as its main purpose is to support shoot and scoot playstyles of peeking out cover, firing, and immediately going back without having much downtime to repair. And lastly, the Mag Rider is capable of strafing and accessing very difficult terrain from which it can fire on targets from long range. It's much more agile than the other tanks, and you will need to be careful to ensure that you land your shots on them, especially over long range, as the Mag Rider is simply capable of dodging incoming shells. With the details about the main tanks covered, everything else is quite simple to learn on your own. The only other thing I would like to mention for now are tank mines, which are often placed on roads or at vehicle spawn points by enemies. These mines can deal extreme damage almost instantly to your tank and can often mean instant death if you're not careful. To prevent being brought down by them, I recommend using the sweeper HUD implant on your loadout to automatically detect them. Be wary of engineers that run towards you and begin throwing these mines directly onto you. If you see this, back away immediately before the mines arm. Even if the engineer who placed them is killed, they still need to be defused either by using your repair tool or by shooting them from a safe distance. And with that, you can now consider yourself well set to begin your career in tanking and planetside. In the next entry of Iron's Colossus Crash Course, we'll discuss the preparations necessary to begin actually using the Colossus itself. I've been Iron, and I hope you find your day successful.